I will call this meeting to order. All the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AHA meetings will be approved by one vote unless any trustee desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and action on the following items. Minutes of the monthly finance meeting on May 19th, 2020. Minutes of the special trustee meeting on May 19th, 2020. And a check report May 9th, 2020 through June 8th, 2020.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Jay Randalls to approve the consent agenda as it was presented. Roll call vote, please.
Jasper,
Yes.
Hanford,
Yes.
Randalls, Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
All right, next item is the CEO's report. Candace?
All right, just a few things in addition to the report that's in front of you. Survey was last week, and this was actually a reaccreditation survey, and things went well. There was a couple things that we need to take care of, but overall, a very good survey, and we're very proud of the work that staff has done since the last survey. Dr. Galbraith will be here to begin practice on July the 13th, and I'll be putting something in the paper about that soon regarding taking appointments for him. We do have the office staff training at this point. Most of the equipment is now in and getting ready for him to be here, so we're pretty excited about that. We'll also plan a meet and greet for him and his family, so be looking for that. Clinic is picking up. Things are starting to get busier. I wouldn't say that we're back to normal yet, but things are picking up, so that's a good sign. We had TrueBridge go live yesterday. Many months of planning and behind the scenes, working to get to that point, and it actually went fairly well yesterday. Hit a couple snags, but got those worked out, and I'm sure we'll continue to experience those along the way as we try to get that to a well-oiled machine. I will be putting an ad in the paper for next week to let our customers know about that change, and a couple of phone numbers. There'll be a phone number for the clinic billing and a different phone number for the hospital billing that patients can call to discuss their bills with TrueBridge. So, seems to be going well. Spent time this morning with at the VOTEC with the schools and doing some COVID planning, and we're kind of all in the same boat, just trying to do a better job this time of kind of knowing what to expect and how to kind of roll with the punches as they come, as the numbers rise, making decisions about how to handle that with the schools, and thinking about us as well. So continuing that process, and it's ever changing still. I did just get off of a phone call with the Deputy Secretary of HHS, and Kim, you had asked me about a contact. Do I have a contact? I do now, and we'll be reaching out to her specifically for some questions regarding spending those COVID dollars.
Excellent.
Get some guidance on that. Does anybody have any questions for me?
If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve CEO's report.
Second.
I have a motion by Kim Ball, a second by Dr. Hannaford, to approve the Shared Medical Center written report for June 23rd, 2020. Roll call vote, please.
Hanford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Casper.
Yes. Okay, Candace, thank you. Next item is the CFO's report. Steve?
Okay, first I want to say it's really nice to have everybody back in the same room. I'm not a fan of Zoom. If you turn to the CFO board report tab, behind it you'll find 2 months of financial statements. I actually got caught up on financial statements. So I'm going to concentrate on May's and make some reference to April when appropriate. If you turn to page 1, it says Share Medical Center, May 31st, 2020. Our operating cash balance at the end of May was $249,000 and change. That represents about 10 days of operating expenses without depreciation. Our accounts receivable was at $4,078,000. That's an increase of about $208,000 during the month. We're getting caught back up on business, so accounts receivable is going to be going up pretty healthy amounts over the next few months, hopefully, if that continues. Accounts payable, $335,286. That's about 35 days of operating expenses. Gross patient revenue was $1.2 million. This was a $361,000 increase compared to the prior month. Unfortunately, the prior month was really ugly, so there again, as we get further away from being shut down, hopefully we're getting that business back, and the business we didn't have during that period of time, we're going to be getting that business back and billing for that in future months. Patient days for May were up from April considerably, 89 over 50 in April. Clinic visits were the same, 693 in April. They were up to 873 for May. Contractuals, the amount we have to write off that we won't collect is 52% of gross patient revenue. Amounts that we wrote off to collection agencies, $14,000. Charity care for May totaled $12,878. Operating expenses without salaries, benefits, and depreciation, $304,000, increase of $10,000 over the prior month. Salaries and wages were up about $48,000 over the prior month. Our net operating loss for May was $420,017. Net loss after non-operating revenue was $385,397 loss. The next page is kind of interesting in that it's an income statement for the 6 months ending with May of this year. And you can kind of see what we've been through. Back in December is when we had our computer problems, had to be shut down for a while. Our revenue really took a dive. We started getting that back towards the second half of January. Into February was looking good, and then along comes the coronavirus, and things went the other way again. But you can see that in May, our revenue's up considerably over what it was in April, so we're slowly getting back, climbing back out of the hole. Any questions about any of that we've looked at so far? The next page is some different other expenses that are combined on the income statement. Page 4 is a 2-year comparison. You can see there's quite a difference between May of this year and May of 2019, about a $500,000 decrease in revenue. year-to-date figures, really, we're actually a little ahead of where we were this time last year, so. If you keep turning back and get through April, you'll come to a few pages that are that run the other way, run lengthwise on the page. The first one says Share Medical Center Hospital Budget 2021 at the top. We do a budget every year based somewhat on what happened in the prior year, our estimates of what's going to happen going forward. This has been a really difficult year, as you can imagine, with the ups and downs we've had. The first column shows the current year through the end of May. The next column has one more month based on the prior 11 months, so it's just 1/11th added to the others to get 12 months. And then I included the third column, which was the budget for 2020. It's kind of interesting to look at those numbers, how much different they are. The following column is the dollar difference between the 2020 budget and what actually happened. You can see that the budget was considerably larger for inpatient and outpatient revenue. The next column shows the percentage of difference. So we were down about 45% in inpatient revenue based on what we expected in our 2020 budget. Outpatient was down about 20%. Contractuals kind of follow that. Expenses up and down, but total operating expenses weren't too much different than budget, about 7%. So where do we go as far as a budget for 2021? We didn't feel it was really appropriate to use the year that's ending or the 2020 budget, but we used the 2020 budget as a starting point. For the 2021 budget, up there at the top two lines, the inpatient and outpatient revenue, we reduced for 2021, we estimated that inpatient revenue is going to be down about 30%, outpatient revenue down by about 15%. And that's mainly because of the ongoing effects of the coronavirus. Our best guess at what's going to happen going forwards. We're probably going to be dealing with this on some level, probably for the next year or so at least. So we feel like revenue is going to be affected by that. Now there are some upsides to the revenue. We have some programs going, like the 340B drug program that brings us in a fair amount of income every month. Rural Health Clinic is getting ready to start in our West End clinic here. That's going to increase some revenue. If the state question passes, that's coming up the end of this month, with Medicaid expansion, we will be getting more Medicaid dollars going forwards, but that's quite a ways off. I'm not sure exactly if that passes exactly when we're going to see those dollars. It'll probably be towards the end of this upcoming fiscal year, I would imagine. Sometime about a year from now, probably. So it's going to be a while before we realize that. Some of the operating expenses going forwards, we're looking at increased salary. We have Dr. Galbraith coming on. Dr. Hicks is going to be working in our emergency room. And Steve Madrid's the physician assistant that's working in Dr. Self's office right now. So we have quite a bit more wage being paid going forwards, and the related expenses to that. We think our supplies are going to be down about 10%. I was able, on the next page is a breakdown of other operating expenses. they weren't broken down for the budget for 2020, that's why there's just a total down there at the bottom, but I can tell you that the one that really changed was purchase services, down about $200,000, and that's a reflection of that increase in wages for doctors and nurses and mid-levels. The fact that we employ those people, we don't have to go out and find somebody to contract with at a much higher rate. So that's going to be a good savings for us going forward. The net effect is, as much as I hated to present it, we're showing a considerable loss for this next year. Like I said, that's probably a pretty conservative estimate. I hope that we're able to recover from being shut down for a couple of months and everything else that's happened, and hoping for a better year. But this is the budget that I am presenting for your consideration. Do you have any questions about any of that?
And I might just, add to that. We discussed in finance, and Steve and I talked as well. This year was unprecedented. None of us had ever seen anything like that before, nor did we have any expectations or know what was going to happen and how people would react in using the medical facility. When this was all first started being put out by the media, is that the hospitals are going to be overrun, doctors' offices, and so on and so forth. But what was really true, it was just the opposite of that. Is that people didn't go to the medical facilities. In fact, the next thing that you heard the CDC saying is, do not go to a hospital, do not go to your doctor. If you contract the disease, you call in. And for the most part, that's what has happened. And so we are being told that this next year, if there was a second wave, that some of the same type of things could happen. Do we know there's going to be a second wave? No. Do we know that that people are going to be reluctant to just dive right back in and doing the things that they were doing before? Yes, we've all seen that in even other areas. And so when trying to come up with how this should affect the budget, because none of us ever want to put a budget together that shows a loss. But here's what we do know, is we have made cuts. The only other cuts that you could possibly even make was to lay people off, and that's not something that we need to do at this time, or want to do at this time. And we know that future, you go a year, 2 years into the future, that these same circumstances, we all hope and pray, are not still here. That we're able to get back to life, not in a new normal, but the old normal. And that the government has set up COVID funds to help us to be able to make it through this, along with our cost report. Our cost report is going to reflect some of these numbers where we weren't having the number of patients as what we were accustomed to. And so for this year, we're going to have to bank on that. We're going to have to bank on that cost report and those COVID funds to help us make it through. And those funds are already starting to pour in. They're not reflective of numbers that you have seen so far. But as we get into next year's budget, those things will start to show up.
Just as an explanation, why is the COVID money not put in the budget when we know we have that money?
Because we don't know exactly how much of it we get to use.
Okay.
And whatever we use is going to be offset by an expense or a equipment purchase. That's how it will be.
Or loss of
paid
income.
out. Or loss of income. But that's a big unknown at this point. It's starting to clarify itself, and it'll become clearer over the next few months how we can spend that money, how much of it we're going to be able to spend. But you noticed in Candace's report there were mention of several different pieces of equipment, and I think all of that was hopefully going to be reimbursed by COVID money. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that in the next few months.
But is some of that equipment within the expenses that would be the budget for next year as well, though?
Well, there's really two different budgets. There's the capital budget, the ordinary capital budget, and then there's the COVID capital
Okay.
budget. And we'll look at those separately. We have to treat them separately because of the way they're paid for and reimbursed.
One of the things, Bo, that we've talked about in finance is the first thing we want to do is identify what our loss of income is. Once we can identify exactly what our loss of income is from COVID, those funds can be retrieved from those COVID dollars, and we can set those things aside for even future operations that don't have to necessarily be earmarked for equipment or something of that nature.
Which could offset, end
A
up
budget
offsetting
loss.
this budget loss.
Yes.
And this will also probably be
That's the
going,
goal.
what we're seeing is it probably will also be going forward, right? So if they continue that, then each month, we're gonna be able to show a difference in loss from what normal is and what we are at because of COVID. And those losses we'll be able to recover as well. But until those months happen, you can't identify that and recover those dollars. So from a budget standpoint, it doesn't look good on paper. Hopefully our cash position will stay in a good place because of that. If that makes sense.
Makes sense. Hopefully we can get it in
In the right pot.
in the right, well, just the information is, get it out in the right way to where,
We just want to be very careful and conservative of those funds.
Yeah.
Not just go blow it on a bunch of stuff.
Exactly.
So
Because
the most that we can identify as loss, then we can use it however we
Right.
need to moving forward.
right.
Part of the problem is this thing's a moving target, and they haven't told us how to identify it as an operating loss. And so we've got to determine that, and that's part of what makes this such a difficult challenge. And so we're guarding those COVID funds to see what that is first, and then move from there, which, believe me, from all the PPP funds that went out, that thing's still changing. So, we're just in uncharted waters for most of us.
Any other questions or thoughts on the budget?
So that will be reported though, when it happens next, during next fiscal year. Once we,
you can imagine the audit.
X amount from
Yeah.
COVID relief and.
Yes.
We're hoping, in fact, finance probably will meet again before this month is over. And then we'll be having, and even pay attention in our finance minutes. And we will report it in here once we identify, hey, we identified that X number of dollars was loss of income, so we're gonna recover that amount of money. To be able to make sure that everybody's aware of
I guess my question, does that turn into a budget amendment for next year when it goes into?
I don't think so. It's gonna just help take care of the loss.
Okay.
Right now, the COVID money shows as an asset to cash and a potential liability to pay it back if we don't spend it correct.
Identify those things.
So it's on the balance sheet now where everybody can see it.
Those funds have been put in restricted accounts where we're gonna track the use of them. Before that money can be paid out, it's gonna have to be approved for COVID-related expenses and capital expenses, and then we can reimburse ourselves out of those restricted funds. So I'm gonna be tracking that very closely as we go forwards and giving you guys reports monthly on how that's going, how much money we have left, that sort of thing.
Okay.
questions? If not, I would entertain a motion on the operating budget.
I make a motion to approve the operating budget for 2021.
Second?
I have a motion by Jay Randalls, a second by Dr. Brown, to approve the operating budget. Roll call vote, please.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon. Yes. Branham,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Okay, the very last page in that section says at the top of the page, Sheriff Medical Center Hospital capital budget for the 3-year period ending June 30th, 2023. So what I do, I meet with department heads and ask them what they project they're going to be needing the next 3 years in the way of equipment and improvements to their facility that the part of it they work in. And they've been very good about realizing the tough times we're going through financially and kind of putting a lot of what they need on a back burner. Of course, there's only so long that can happen. And an example is on this page, you'll notice in column A, which is a high priority for the current upcoming year, that we're looking at a CAT scan, replacing the CAT scan and radiology CT scan. A lot of money there, but that's something that obviously is kind of the standard for diagnostic care in a hospital anymore. Something we're going to have to replace at some point. We're looking at how we can possibly use COVID funds on that. We're still not sure, so that's still being looked at, but you can see we're also furnishing Dr. Galbraith's new office down at the professional building, so spending some money there. A lot of things that are needed but can be maybe put off for a while or maybe even into a following year in column B and C. I don't know if you have any questions about any of those. Most of this is not going to be COVID-related expenses. Like I said, some things we're looking at, if possibly it would qualify for COVID reimbursement, but probably not the vast majority of things on this schedule.
So that CAT scan is, that we actually brought that up last month. That's something that's going to have to get done here because the other one is obsolete. So we're one tick away on it from it crashing, and it cannot, am I correct, they cannot get the, okay,
You are.
so we need to be able to move on that.
We work on it way too much. It's end of life.
So next month, that one will probably come up, whether it's monies that we've identified that were loss of income that we were able to get back that we can apply towards that, or whether it's it does qualify for some type of COVID funds. Either way, we're probably going to have to be moving in that direction. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the capital budget.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, a second by Jay Randalls to approve the capital budget. Roll call vote, please.
Simon? Yes. Branham?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Randalls?
Yes.
All right. Steve-O, thank you.
Yeah, while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and have you turn back to the convalescent home tab and just briefly look at the financials there. The first set is financial statements at the end of May, and then they're followed by April. But we'll look at May, and this is at the nursing home. Operating cash on page 1, operating cash at the end of May, $253,000. 27.1 days of operating expenses. Accounts receivable over there, $576,000, increased about $14,000 during the month of May. Accounts payable at the end of May, $60,946, 18.8 days of operating expenses. Patient revenue, $326,000, that was a $32,000 increase compared to the prior month. Patient days were up to 1435 compared to 1371 in April. We don't have contractuals anymore at the nursing home because Medicaid is reimbursing us at basically the same rate as what we're charging. Operating expenses without salary, benefits, depreciation for May, $93,900. That was a decrease of about $12,000 over the prior month. Salaries and wages, $170,000, which is an increase of about $13,000. Kelly's doing a really good job of hiring people, so we don't have to depend so much on agency, which is we have to pay at a much higher rate than what we pay our employees. So that's actually a cost-saving measure. And I'm happy to say, on behalf of Kelly, that Convalescent Home showed a profit of $30,600 for May. So good job, Kelly. He's doing a really good job over there. We're pursuing some delinquent accounts that will really help if we're able to collect those. So Kelly's doing a really good job. Then let's skip on over to the Homestead, which is the next tab. Just briefly look at the income statement there on page 1. Far right column is May of this year. And revenue was up about $4,500 over the prior month. The bottom line, net profit for the month, $2,400. Christy's done a good job of keeping things going over there, keeping people in. It's been a difficult period of time for both facilities because of coronavirus, but from a financial standpoint, they really haven't suffered the way the hospital has, and they've done an excellent job. They've been able to keep the coronavirus out of both of those facilities, which I think is an outstanding accomplishment, and really proud of both facilities for doing that. I'm going to hold off on the budgets, and we'll deal with those a little later in the meeting for those two facilities. So that's it for me, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yes.
Next is the Medical Staff Executive Committee. We have some credentialing. First item is to reappoint to courtesy staff Matthew, is that Jared, MD?
Both of these are saying empty positions that do the telemed. Where are you? Sorry, you have May in your book, not June.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, to reappoint.
All right, so the first item is to reappoint to courtesy staff Matthew Jared, MD.
I make a motion that we reappoint to courtesy staff Matthew Jared, MD.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Dr. Simon to reappoint to courtesy staff Matthew Jared, MD. Roll call vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
The next item is to reappoint to courtesy staff Adam Gardner, MD.
Make a motion that we reappoint to courtesy staff Adam Gardner, MD.
Second.
I have a a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Dr. Simon to reappoint to courtesy staff Adam Gardner, MD. Roll call vote, please.
Paul,
Yes.
Gaspard,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All right. Are there any other items to bring to us about the medical staff?
In your notebook, there is a brief quality report, nothing of interest specifically there. We are, with our SQSS system, Darlene Bainbridge will be coming out soon. There's a bunch of new regulations coming out for 2020 that we will be updating to our SQSS system to help us better track and be in compliance with those regulations, and she will be here soon to help us get started on that. All the contracts were reviewed and in compliance, and I believe that's about all.
There is a list of all those contracts back under patient care, improvement to patient care. If anybody wishes to look at any one of those.
The dietitian's report is also right behind that.
Any questions? If not, we'll move on to the Share Convalescent Home Report. Kelly?
Like Steve said, May was, in April was even an improvement. It was still a loss in April, but it wasn't even $1,000, so practically break even for April. So that was good. We did make up quite a bit of ground in May. We finally got that almost perfect, not quite perfect balance between our staff and the fill-in between agency staff. And of course, perfect balance is when there's no agency staff, but we're knocking that number down quite a bit, and it's making a difference. We had an increase in census from April to May. We had an increase in census from March to April, so we're moving that number up a little bit. We're probably looking at 2 or 3 more admissions within the next couple weeks from the referrals that we've received, so that'll be good. Of course, that'll help the revenue, and we won't have any increase in expenses or overhead to take care of those, because our staffing and everything's going to remain the same for the next few presidents that we're able to admit. Of course, if they got supplies or whatnot, those will be extra expenses, but that should be, June should be better yet than May, I hope. We are celebrating this week Nurses Aid Week, so the nurses, that's the biggest group of people in our facility, and they are the lifeblood of our facility, and they are doing a great job for us. And so this week, our little morale booster club got together, and we have sparklers that we handed to all the nurse aides with tags that said something about being sparkly or something. I'm not creative enough or observant enough to remember exactly what it said, but it was cute, and they appreciated it, and we really appreciate what they're doing. We also have dress-up days all week. Yesterday was America Monday, so it's our red, white, and blue day. Today is Tropical Tuesday, minus the happy hour, and tomorrow is going to be Twins Day, so we've got to figure out who I'm going to be twin with tomorrow. But they're having fun with it, and residents are still getting good care. We've got our new nurse call system in place, and it's working out very, very well.
Yay!
We've had literally thousands of calls on that nurse call system, and over the last weekend, we did not have a single call that waited more than 15 minutes. So that was kind of our starting out goal. We'll keep working to get that number down even lower, but you know, we're doing a really good job of responding to the calls in the order that we get them, and you know, people not having to wait for the care that they need. So I'm really pleased with that.
So once again, you can identify date and time and how long it took.
Oh yeah, in fact, we have added that to part of our QAPI activity, is where any calls that are over 15 minutes before response, we're going back and checking to see what was going on at that time of day, and what other calls were coming in, and what, you know, if it was a break time, if we were getting a new admission, or what was going on to cause that, and then working on plans to correct those issues moving forward. And like I said, over the weekend, there wasn't a single call that went over, I think, 14 minutes and 38
What is your
seconds.
goal? Do you have a goal in mind?
I'd like to get it to 10. It won't be something that I think can be 100% under 10 minutes all the time, because things happen. But I'd like to see us at, you know, 98% of our calls coming in under 10, and we may be close to that right now anyway, but 15 minutes is the number that we're looking at right now, and they're doing good. It was an adjustment, getting used to it, but they're making the transition and doing a really good job. We have hired quite a few new aides. That's what's helped us get our salary dollars up and our agency dollars down, and we're really pleased with the new people that we've hired. They're coming in and making a difference right away. Coronavirus, COVID-19, it's the bane of my existence. We have received, of course, Governor Stitt's last executive order pretty much lifted the shackles, so to speak, and it really just moved the shackles from the governor's office to the State Department of Health. We are still awaiting some clarification on what they consider a declining trend in positive cases for counties, because that's really the one piece of information that we need in order to justify moving into the 3 phases that they prescribed for our reopening. The phase 1 of the reopening is basically not a lot different than what we're currently in. It's kind of a monitoring period where we say we don't have any cases, and we've done all of the, met all the requirements for infection control policies and monitoring, surveillance, and staff competencies with regard to those things. And we're technically, I guess we'd be in phase 1 right now. We'd go 14 days through phase 1, then we'd enter into phase 2, which would allow us to start scheduling some visitors. We would be planning to screen visitors just as we screen staff, taking their temperatures, finding out where they've been, who they've been around, if they've got coughs, colds, you know, sore throats and whatnot, and then putting a mask on them as they come in. It will not be drop in and say hello. It's going to, you know, by the state's guidelines, it's going to have to be scheduled and coordinated in a certain part of the building, and it'll be a challenge. It's actually going to be it'll be more difficult on everybody on the staff from a standpoint of trying to coordinate all that than what our Zoom meetings have been or anything else, because we're also having to make sure that we're vetting everybody's individual risk as they come through the door. So it won't be a lot of visitation, but phase 2 then opens up to where we can start to, or get into phase 3, and we can have our salons, our beauty salon open and stuff like that. But again, very heavily, you know, restricted on what we can do and maintain our compliance with the infection control rules that they put in place for nursing homes. I've probably shared this with you before, but back in October, whenever the laws passed for the last round of regulations or whatever, nursing homes became the #1 highest regulated industry in the world. and that has not changed. And I think it's a constant challenge to keep up with it. Really proud of our leadership over there, our DON, Tierna Adair, and our infection preventionist, Brooke Williard, are doing a fantastic job of keeping up with all of our national reporting, our state reporting, our policies and training and all of that stuff. They're really knocking it out of the park. And we are COVID free and doing a good job, and we intend to stay that way. So, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If not, Kelly, thank you very much.
And I'll jump back in. And,
Okay.
the 3 pages that precede Kelly's report, again, they're the ones that are running lengthwise on the page. Top of the first page, Shared Medical Center Convalescent Home Budget 2021. Here again, looked at the first column being current year for the 11 months ending May 31st. I took the monthly average for each category in that column, added a month to get to the end of this year in the second column. That's just an estimate. And then the budget for this following year is in that third column. Basically what we looked at, we didn't change a lot. We increased revenue by 3%. As I told you a while ago, there are no Medicaid contractuals anymore, so a 0 on that line. Salary and the related expenses, tax expenses and benefits, we increased by roughly 5%. Increased supplies by 5%, utilities by 5%. Other things we left pretty much as they were, except other expenses on the following page. We took a $100,000 decrease in agency costs, just like Kelly was telling us. Hiring more people, especially nurses' wages, nurses' aides. Which will reduce our agency costs, so saving money there. So we're breaking even. No, we're showing a $20,000 profit for 2021 budget for this next year. Any questions about any of that? How we arrived at any of it?
So Kelly, what, on your room rates and whatnot, as you go up, so now that there's no contractual, do they get to help set what that rate is, or do you still get to set it?
Medicaid will still set Medicaid's rate. We're gonna go up in our room rates in October, and Medicaid may or may not go up on what they have allowable. There may be a contractual starting in October, but there may not be, so.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I make a motion we approve the 2021 budget for the convalescent home.
Second. Sorry.
And Jennifer first, sorry. So I have a motion by Jay Randalls, a second by Dr. Hannaford to approve the operating budget. Roll call vote, please.
Gaspard,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon. Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Dahl.
Yes.
The next page is the capital budget for the next 3 years. You'll notice a pretty big number in column A, replacing the plumbing at the nursing home. And we've estimated the total cost of that's going to be about $450,000. We really need to start on that project because Kelly's done such a good job, and we're getting reimbursed by Medicaid at the same rate as what is being charged. We do have some money that we can use towards that. hopefully we'll be able to get that project started this year.
Yeah,
It's
and
gonna be a massive project. It's gonna take a lot of work on not only, the staff at the nursing home, but, everybody. It's gonna be an inconvenience, but it's something that has to happen.
Brad was under the building today working on the leaks that we were with and without water off and on all day today, so
Yeah.
it's an issue.
Yeah.
So, in regards to that, Kelly, because I see that there's an item under A and then there's an item under the 2022. Is this half the building and then the other half at another time? How does that broke down? Or do you know?
Well, we haven't specifically defined the areas to hit first, but it's taking a phased approach. Get our worst parts taken care of first, and it may be all over the building in one phase, but it won't be the entire system.
Okay. Has this been sent out for bids, or is these just
No.
rough estimates?
This is just rough estimates.
Okay, all right. But it needs to be moved on soon.
It's something we've been pushing down the highway for,
Just say when.
and we can't push it down anymore. It's here. So it's gonna have to start.
Will this require some rooms being out of service for a while?
We'll probably depend on the contractor to tell us what all that entails. There are ways to shut off sections of the building and work on them, and get them back on within, I'd be lying to you if I told you definitively what it would entail. The contractor's going to have to come in and tell us what that would entail, and then we'll have to work around it.
Does that mean that it's possible we're going to have an income loss during that time? If we've got rooms not available to be used?
Well, I don't think we're planning on running anybody off as far as.
No, I don't think we'll have to discharge or transfer anybody.
Yeah.
There's enough extra space.
Yeah.
They may have a temporary new location for
Right.
a few days. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I mean, like with COVID, we essentially emptied out one whole hallway and turned that into our isolation wing. So, I mean, we have the capacity to move people around.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to the capital budget? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the capital budget for the convalescent home.
Second.
Have a motion by Kim Ball, second by Dr. Hannaford to approve the capital budget. Roll call vote, please.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Gasser.
Yes. Okay. Next is the Homestead Report. Christine.
All right, I will open by saying that this will be my last report because I am going to move to Northeast Oklahoma. I'm just going back, so anyway, I want to make sure and let you know that. No
Sad.
reason
Sad,
we're
sad.
here. It is to me too, to be quite honest. I've loved what I've done here, but definitely I love Share Medical Center and I love the Homestead, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful 2 years. So I don't have any bad feelings about that. I'm just going to pre-retire and live on the lake at Grand Lake, so that's really the goal for me. So anyway, let me get to the report. We're staying pretty static over there. I hate that. I'm trying so hard to get back up to where Kelly's numbers were. And see, look what he's doing at the nursing home, so maybe you should have Kelly do a little more oversight. You know, so I'm just saying that. So, because he does have, I will say this, a year later, the things that he put in place, I have continued to do the things he's done overall. And really, really good processes and really good things that he's put in place as far as whether it's staffing, equipment, resident processes, and the things that he has for paperwork and everything. So I want to commend him for that. He does a really good job. As far as say we've stayed so static from the month before, there's not a lot to note. We are still getting calls, we are still having people that are wanting to move in, that are asking. I had a gentleman from Pennsylvania today, and he has already reserved his room for August 1st. So, there's still opportunity out there. There's just a lot of uncertainty by people in their homes, as you know, whether or not it's a good idea or not. So I have one that will come to a 2-bedroom soon, and then have another one that will be coming to a 1-bedroom. Really, to me, the challenges right now at the homestead, I have a hot water heater that is on the fritz, and then on the flip side, I can't keep the building cool because I've got air conditioner issues. I've got a compressor down in the kitchen, so they're running fans, and then the compressor is down and the air conditioner in the car, and then I've got 2 air conditioners that the compressors are down. So part of that is just age. We've been now open for 20-some years, right? Now it's over 20. You had your 20th, and so.
It opened on my anniversary. The day I got married, it opened.
Oh, really? Well, it's easy for you to remember, right? So those are things that are just to be expected, but we are going to have to, and that doesn't come out of the budget, so that you know of Sharon Medical Center, really. Those things that are large assets of the homestead belong under the city. I'm sorry to say that to you, Bo. But so those are things, though, that we are going to have to watch. Luckily, because we're not full capacity, we're trying to make sure and close off, so to speak. We're just not using the rooms that the air conditioners are not working. We moved some things so that we wouldn't have to use those, and so it's working for now. Same thing with the hot water heater. Because we're not full capacity, we're running on 1 hot water heater. You'll remember you have 2 huge ones over there, and so we've bypassed 1 for now. So that's working okay. Might not when we get more residents. So I think we have to think about those things at least. So I want to say those out loud. Another thing that had caused a decline in our revenue has been our jail meals, which is probably a good thing overall, but we are not serving as many. They do not have as many residents there, so we are not taking meals there. Although we picked up, we served meals to the college, to the university students that were quarantined. And so I thought that was really nice. I appreciated that they called us, and we loved having that service for them. It's fun to have young kids call us for telling us what they want. And it's different things than we're used to, so it's been good. So anyway, but, the other things on the positive side, we do have the community garden. I don't know if any of you know, that has it's just in the beginning stages. They have cut out the area that the garden is going to be in. The flowers are going to be closest to the building, with all the vegetables and the other things further away. But I think it's going to be a lovely addition. So far, they have a raised garden area that's outside our activity room, and our residents are watering and trying to, after the winds, we've tried to prop everything back up. And so, but it's a good project to be there, and Kelly actually was the instigator of that, so I want to give him kudos for that, because it's going to end up being really nice when it gets to the end stage. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Christy? If not, Christy, thank you for not just these years of service, but your prior years of service as well.
I love this place, truly I do.
She'll be back someday.
I would come back here. I just want to live here.
Yeah. But we wish you well, and hope that you enjoy your time over in the greener part of the state.
Not necessarily greener pastures.
Let's look at budgets one more time. 3 pages in front of Christie's report, behind the Homestead tab. First page says Share Medical Center, Homestead Retirement Center, budget 2021 at the top. Similar to the other budgets, first column is the 11 months of the current year that have passed ending May 31st. Took an average of the revenue and expenses for a month, added it to those 11 months to get 12 months in the second column. Budget for 2021 in the third column, basically I raised revenues by 3%. Increased wages and the related expenses with wages, supplies and utilities by 5%. Other expenses on the second page, nothing really drastic change there. So estimating we're going to show a pretty healthy profit, about $123,000 for this upcoming year, and that's in line with what we've done for this last year.
Any questions in regards to the operating budget?
I make a motion to approve the 2021 budget for the Homestead Retirement Center.
Second.
We have a motion by Jay Randalls, a second by Dr. Brown to approve the operating budget. Roll call vote, please.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Next,
Uh,
go ahead.
Capital budget over there, as Christie said, really, we don't have capital expenditures at the homestead because the city of Alva is required to keep all that up. But we didn't want them to feel left out. There's one item that always shows up on the capital budget over there. They'd like a 9-passenger limo. If anybody has one of those sitting around they want to get rid of. And obviously that's a used 9-passenger limo that they're asking for.
Not one of those Humvee with a hot tub and a bag.
We take a stretch Humvee with a hot tub if you have one. So we're hoping maybe someday somebody would like to buy one of those for us or contribute to the purchase of a vehicle, because they could definitely use a large vehicle. They have outings when numerous people want to go, so that'd really help over there. But that's all we have for capital budget.
Any questions about that? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the capital budget for the homestead.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, a second by Dr. Brown to approve the capital budget. Roll call vote, please.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls.
Yes.
Does he have one? Well,
He just traded his limo, because I noticed he's driving a different color. Jeremy Longston drives, I mean, he's got
With all those
9 kids.
There's
7
9
kids.
total though, when they go
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly.
I
We need
didn't
to get his, when he's done with this next one, we need to.
That's an idea for us. Maybe he'll donate it.
I found some nice ones on the internet back when I was looking.
Yeah, by the way, he didn't, no one said that, but I didn't put that on the budget, that was already there.
Kelly, anything from the foundation?
No, sir.
Okay. No St. Anthony's report. Bo, city council report?
Really two things, we approved our budgets for the cities and the different authorities. The big news, we approved Angelica Brady as a new city manager. Excited about that, she'll do a good job for us.
All right. Very good. Any questions for Bo? If not, the next item is the chairman's report. It's that time of year where we elect officers. We have 3 officers. We have chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. And so with this time, I would like to open it up for nominations for chairman.
Nominate Jason.
Second.
If someone else is wanting that, you just throw your hand up right now. I'd be happy to.
There was a, is that a motion or just a?
As a nomination, a motion, whatever it needs to be.
Okay.
Whoever he wants to write it
I
up.
make a motion nomination cease.
Uh-huh. So we have a motion by Dr. Simon, a second by, is that Jay?
I almost called you Doc.
Your enthusiasm
I know, I'm gonna
is
have to get that, so I
Sorry.
can speak doctor.
Jay
You'll
Randalls,
make it up anyway.
to nominate Jason Gaspard to be the chairman. Roll call vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Congratulations. Let me be the
Thank
first.
you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm just glad I'm not it anymore.
Next officer is the vice chairman.
I make a motion that we appoint Kim Ball as vice chairman.
Second.
I have a motion by Jay Randalls, a second by Dr. Hannaford, to appoint Kim Ball as vice chairman. Roll call vote, please.
Paul,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Next seat is the secretary.
I make a motion that Dr. Simon be appointed as secretary.
Second.
I thought for sure.
Boy.
Look at her beam with pride. I think that's what it is.
Which one of you had that first?
Kim can have it.
No.
We'll give it to Kim. All right.
So you can blame Kim.
We have a motion by Jay Randalls, a second by Kim Ball, to elect Hala Simon as the secretary of the board. Roll call vote, please.
Casper,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Randalls,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Dr. Simon.
So there are no other items of new business. We will have a, I was trying to look at where our regular scheduled meeting was.
21st, I believe.
Yes. 21st of July.
Okay.
Aren't you usually gone the month of July?
Well, that's normal because we have church camp and then we have mission trip and we have baseball. I could be at baseball state if we make it. That'll be the only thing, so. Anyways, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.